Hello everyone and welcome to the next series of this video in which we are discussing all the documents and plans in PMP. So far we have discussed pre-initiation. We started actually with the pre-initiation. Then we discussed initiation and then we discussed planning. Planning has the maximum of documents. Now we discussed execution last week, and today we are going to discuss what happens in monitoring and control. And after that we will discuss closing, and then this series will be completed. Let's discuss this thing, monitoring and controlling today. The most important thing, if we look into the monitoring and controlling, the purpose, if I define the purpose of monitoring and controlling is this basically. To check the progress, do the variance analysis. Whenever you see monitoring and control, it always means variance analysis. You are comparing your plan, which we made in planning, and your actual, which we did in execution. So this is nothing but variance of execution minus planning. This is your monitoring and control in simple words. It can be any plan, you put it there: scope, schedule, cost, quality, procurement, stakeholder, risk. You compare the plan and you check whether your plan is effective or not. If your plan is effective or not, and if not, you raise a change request. One more time, what happens basically? We compare plan versus actual. How do we actually compare plan versus actual? We already have a plan, actual. In execution, we produced work performance data. Work performance data is the lowest form of information, I can say raw information, as it comes directly from the execution. But this is the actual information, the raw information that is coming from the execution. The information comes to you. This raw information goes to all the department. If I put all the department here: scope, schedule, cost, quality, procurement, risk, stakeholder, communication. Okay, let's say all these departments are this. Now this work performance data, a big file, it can be daily, weekly. Let's say it's a daily data. Daily, how much work is done, work performance data. It comes to scope. Scope will take the area that is concerning to them and discard or move the data to next domain. Similarly, it goes to schedule. The schedule will take the data that is important to them. The cost will take the data that is important to them. Quality, procurement, risk, stakeholder, communication. Every single department take the data that is important to them, that correlates them, that basically helps them to understand. And this work performance data, they compare with their plan. And here comes then every single department produce work performance information. Work performance schedule will have their own work performance information, cost will have their own work performance information, quality will have their own work performance, and everyone will have their own work performance information, which is basically their summary, the departmental summary, how their progress is going. And accordingly, if they need a change request, every single department will raise change request here. It's a very important concept to understand. The change request and the reason, of course, will be documented here why we need that change request. Okay. So that change request, all that work performance information, all that from scope till stakeholder, all those work performance informations report, you can say that every department is giving their individual daily report, goes to project manager in monitoring and control integration. Okay, it goes to that, he combines them, he integrate them, he look into that. Okay, and he make a comprehensive report which is called as work performance report. Now this work performance report will show each and everything that is important, that is needed to communicate to the stakeholders, sponsor, depending upon the communication management plan. Of course, communication management plan will tell you 4 hours how much information is needed to the stakeholder, how much information they need. We will share that information to them. So data came, got converted into information came, and it has been converted into work performance report. And this work performance report goes to the stakeholder through risk. All the communication, of course, happen through managed communication, which we discussed in the previous topic in execution. So decisions actually happen because of this. Okay, this is a decision making authority. Now this is one of the important document, how data get converted into information get converted into report. Now let's talk about the change request that was created along this way. So let's say now change request, in order to look at the change request, we have to look at predictive first and then agile. Let's say a change request is generated. First of all, change request must be put in the change log or change form, and of course change management plan. Everything has plan in execution, will tell you how this change will happen. This change log, once the change is generated, it goes to project manager. Project manager checks the change, if the change is needed. Okay, means if it is affecting the deliverable, he will do further impact analysis. Now impact analysis is very important. If it is not affecting, he will just send the rejection notice. Okay, let's say it is affecting a deliverable, he will do the scope, schedule, cost, quality, customer satisfaction, risk, all those constraint analysis. All the analysis he will do. And if we think we need the change request, he will send it to change control board. If we think the change is not needed, he will simply reject it. Yes, the project manager has authority to accept or reject any change, because he is the project manager. It is his job, it is his baby. This project is his project. This project does not belong to anyone. This project belongs to project manager. So he decides, shall he move to the change or not. Of course, the sponsor is the head of the change control board. Let's say the change control board, now again, if they deny, we send the rejection notice, why it was rejected. If it is accepted, we will update the change log. Please understand, at every step that you are also rejecting, change log is also being updated. Okay, so rejected, we update the change log, we communicate that change has been accepted by doing the impact analysis, all those things, we implement, and we rebalance the project with that maybe new scope, schedule, cost. Acha, very important, one change request is enough to update all the plans. One change request is enough to update all the plans. So this is basically a change come in a change request form, okay, to the PM basically looks at the change, and if he thinks that the change is important, he does the impact analysis, then send to the change control board. When the change control board approved it, we communicate the change, then implement the change, okay, and then rebalance the project. What if the customer asks the change? Let's say the customer has requested the change. I'm making it small. Customer has requested a change. The change was from customer. It will be automatically formal change. The change directly goes to PM. PM does the impact analysis, and after doing the impact analysis, he sends the change back to them and asks them, hey, this will impact the scope this way, schedule this way, cost this way. Do you really want to go ahead with this change? And if they says yes, we want to have this change, okay, good enough, that's their call. Then the change goes to change control board. Let's say, just to give you an example, the customer requested a change that will increase the cost. So we will do the impact analysis and tell them the cost will increase this much. Do you want to have the change? If they say that yes, we want to have the change, we will send to the change control board. Otherwise, if they say no, we don't want to have a change, then we will end the change here. Acha, few more things about the change. Change is needed to update all the baselines, scope, schedule, cost, or combined known as performance baseline. All the plans, all plans change needed. For documents like stakeholder register, risk register, issue log, you don't need change request. No change request is required. For all 33 documents, you don't need change request. But if you put a stakeholder into a stakeholder register, and as a result, if a plans get updated, then you may need change request. Now this is in predictive. If we talk about agile, it's very easy. A change request is requested by a customer. It goes to product owner. Product owner put into the product backlog. All the changes must be put into the product backlog. We reprioritize, and if the priority is above, it can go into the next sprint. And if this is something that is a showstopper, it can also goes into the current sprint. That is how the change is handled. Okay, two important things we discussed: the work performance data flow, how the change requests are handled. Okay, in addition to that, in scope, schedule, and cost, we do earned value analysis. Okay, earned value analysis, planned value, earned value, actual cost. We measure schedule variance, which is earned value minus planned value, cost variance, earned value minus actual cost. We can also call it as SPI, earned value divided by planned value, cost variance, earned value divided by actual cost. This should be equal, greater than 1 or equal to 1. If it is, that's a good thing. If it is less than 1, it's a bad thing. That is more than enough that you need to know about the real exam. Okay, in earned value analysis, this is more than important. Nothing else is needed here. That is enough for earned value analysis. You will not get question on critical path or detailed formula in at least 2023 PMP. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's move forward. We have covered scope. One of the things is still remaining, validate scope. I'll come to that. Cost is done, scheduling is done. Two things I would like to add here: schedule compression techniques. Crashing is basically adding resources. In crashing, you are adding resources. Once you add the resource, of course, the schedule gets small, but cost increases. Whereas we have other fast tracking. In fast tracking, basically activities that were in sequence, you make them parallel. It increases risk, as a primary thing, and of course the cost will increase. If money is not the problem, you always prefer crashing to do first. Then maybe we'll look at fast tracking. Crashing is preferred better. This is schedule compression technique. Then we go to resource optimization technique. Okay, resource optimization. So resource optimization is basically when the resources are overloaded. There are two techniques: resource leveling and smoothing. Leveling basically handle all the resources. It is arranged according to the available resource, and all the resources are handled. As a result, like you change the schedule according to the availability of a resource, critical path or your schedule may change and optimize all the resources. Here we say that critical path is fixed, we are not gonna change. All the resources cannot be optimized, not all are optimized. Okay, this is about scheduling. Okay, in the risk topic, what happened basically, you are doing risk review meeting. In risk review meeting, you are looking at the risk report, which is basically overall report, what has happened, good or bad or whatever, how many risks have occurred in last 2 weeks. Risk review meeting can be 2 weeks, after 4 weeks, 6 weeks. It entirely depends on your plan. So you look into that, you make a risk report, and that is presented in that meeting. In addition to that, we do audit, which is basically checking the effectiveness of risk process. Are we following the risk processes or not? That is the purpose of the audit. Like risk management, again, risk management plan is being followed or not, that is audit. And in the risk review meeting, we looked over the reserves, how much reserves are left. Okay. If the reserves are not needed anymore, what do? We release that money and we send it back. We send it back to the pool of the resources. This is basically things that happen in risk review meetings. Audit is happening, and of course, as we discussed in previously, in execution we implement risk response plan, and here we looked at the residual risk, the remaining risk after the implementation. The residual risk is, let's say, less than our tolerances. We just accept it, we don't make any plan. If the residual risk is more, then of course we have to make a plan. And sometimes you also get a secondary risk. You implement a plan, as a result you get another risk because of that particular thing. So you handle secondary risk the same way you handle the primary risk, put into the risk register. That's all about risk. One more time we discussed, anything that has happened, it goes into issue log. For that which we did not have planned, if we identify something before happening, it goes into risk register. A very important thing I want to add here, if you identify a risk, the trigger of the risk occur, and you implement the response, and the response was good, you update risk register. The risk that was identified and everything goes according to plan never goes into issue log. Many people confuses this thing. I don't know why, but this is something that you need to understand and master this thing. Okay, Ji. So risk is done. In the stakeholder and communication, in both areas, we do the variance analysis, and of course the same thing which we just discussed. We performance information generated and change request is generated in both of these areas. The next thing is basically what happens in procurement. Yes, in procurement, actually procurement all the procurement in execution was agreement was signed. Here the actually deliverable comes. If it is written in the contract that you can do the audit, it must be written in the contract you can do the audit. If it is not written in the contract that you can do the audit, then you cannot do the audit. This is a very interesting thing to understand. It must be written down in the contract that whether you can do the audit or you cannot do the audit. If the contract says no, 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 you cannot do the audit, then straightforward you cannot do the audit. This is an important thing. Secondly, in procurement, let's say deliverable comes to you, you inspect those deliverable. Okay, you inspect those deliverable. If you agreed that that deliverable is good, that there are only two options now. You agree, you close the procurement, and pay them, update the lesson learned and things like that, which we will discuss in closing. If you disagree, a conflict has occurred. To handle the conflict in procurement, step 1, try to get a win-win situation, as we discussed in the team topic. If that is not possible, do what is written in the contract. Okay, do what is written in the contract. Most of the time contracts are also silent for multiple things. Try to get a mediator, a third party person whom both parties listen. Try to solve it in any possible way. Otherwise, alternate dispute resolution, go to the court. This is a sequence that must be followed. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Okay, procurement has closed throughout the project. We don't wait for the project to close the procurement. Your goal should be in monitoring and control, all the procurement should be closed. If any is open, then we close into the closing of the project. Otherwise, every procurement must be closed in the monitoring and control. Acha ji. We have discussed scope, schedule, cost, procurement, risk, communication, stakeholder. Now I want to discuss quality. I left the quality for this thing because there's a journey of deliverable involved in it. In quality, basically this happens. Deliverables that were produced in execution, they are produced. It comes to control quality. In control quality, according to quality management plan, we check the deliverables. We basically inspect the deliverable. If the deliverables are according to the quality standards, we called it verified deliverable. Okay, we called it verified deliverable. If not, we do raise the change request to take preventive action that can get the deliverable back to the original state, or corrective action, still something that can be repaired, or defect repair, that the thing has gone out of the hand, now we need to do the defect repair. So we get verified deliverables in the quality. Then this deliverable goes into validate scope. Remember, in the scope I said there's another process, validate scope. I skipped it because I want to discuss here. Here the client come and check the deliverable according to scope baseline, not the quality plan. And the verified deliverable comes here. If the client says no, of course there is a change request. It goes to change control board or change control procedure. Here we get accepted deliverable, also known as validated deliverable. Remember, verification happens before, validation happen later on. Then these accepted deliverable goes to closing the project. So guys, that was monitoring and control for you. Each and everything that you must know. Of course, there are some quality tools. Pareto chart, that is basically based on 80-20 principle, that removes vital few, trivial many. Then there is a tool known as sampling, which can be statistical. After every 100 we check the sampling whether it is there or it is not there, it is meeting the within the tolerance or not. Or it can be random sampling, like you randomly check. Then in sampling, it can be attribute sampling, where you say either it is pass or fail. Okay, this is sampling. Then in addition to that, we can use control chart, which checks whether the deliverables are within the control limit or not. If it goes out of the upper control limit or lower control limit, we say that the project is out of control. Or if the 7 points, this is called rule of 7, consecutive 7 points, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 are one side of the mean, we say that there's a problem, we need to investigate into that. Okay, further we have also discussed other tools of quality like scatter diagram, which basically actually shows the relationship between two variables, how affecting the one variable affect the other. It is also known as correlation diagram. We have already discussed fishbone diagram, that is y diagram, 5y, Ishikawa diagram, all the same links for this. I guess this is the complete monitoring and control for you. I hope this makes sense to you. This video has become like a big one, but that was the purpose of this video, so that you can understand each and every single thing. Now if there's any question, you can put into the comments and I will be more than happy to answer your any question. And if you haven't taken the training, you can contact me at this number. Then the WhatsApp is also in this number, or you can email me. The email is very simple. My name, amerali@gmail.com. Number is 588-350-833. So feel free to contact me. I'm happy to help you in your PMP. And if you do PMP, do let me know. I would love to share your success story all over the world. Thank you very much.